Okay, so this meeting is being recorded by the Board of Assessors. If any person present is doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. So we call the meeting to order, roll call of members. Jim Geisman is here.
Chuck Green is here.
Christine Summers is here.
Fantastic. The gang's all here. Okay, we have a review and approval of previous minutes.
I move that we approve the previous minutes.
I was waiting for somebody else. But
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay,
Yes.
great. So let's see, public comment. We don't have any members of the public comment, so we,
I move we defer that until later.
right,
Okay.
we will. Okay, new business.
We've got some exemptions and a couple things you need to go over. So,
Is that exec session stuff?
yes, no,
Okay.
the exact,
All
and
right.
maybe new, which wasn't on here, but I'll introduce
Evan,
Evan.
Yep.
is
Hi.
our new assistant assessor.
Yep, that's me.
So,
Thank
You
you,
are,
Evan.
you are hired.
Yeah, his first day is like
Yep, today
today.
was Monday. Yep.
Monday.
Monday.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
Yes, we're very excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
You have no idea how excited.
We're excited.
Okay, so no new business, that
Well, like,
we have.
later on in the meeting, I guess it's old business, but maybe after we go through all these topics, we can talk about what we're going to say to Ways and Means about classification.
Okay, old business, the calendar review, how are we doing?
Let me see, so, I am the duties of RRG.
Yes.
RRG. Talk about now in executive session, but we had talked about, RRG kind of tends to do shortcuts and
Yes.
that's what they're really good at. And I am somebody who is in the data all the time, every day. I can see what's going on directly. And so, I did the shortcut and I submitted it and it did not work.
What shortcuts?
There's a shortcut.
For coming up with the tax
For
rate,
coming
for
up with the tax
classification.
rate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
To submit
really?
it to the DOR and they kicked it back because
Oh.
it did not work.
Mhm.
And that's because it
Wasn't gonna work.
wasn't gonna work.
This is the CODs?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
Yeah, we
See?
both had the 200 class. We know this stuff.
So
that,
I don't know how they did it last year or the year before, but it didn't work.
well,
So,
Last year was your magic spreadsheet, right?
oh, was that it?
hmm,
Mm,
You guys might have to have an offline meeting.
yes,
Well, my way of doing it is to actually break it down and fix everything.
well,
So-
We're here to support you.
well,
So if you need any assistance from Jim or his spreadsheet, he's available, but
Well,
you should do
I-
you.
I think there may be much room for such things in the future.
much room for what?
For
Your
getting a
spreadsheet and all
spreadsheet
that.
to do this instead of me going through property by property.
Well, the spreadsheet does something different. You it should be going through it property by property, but
Yes,
whatever properties you have, there's a report that gets generated or that you can generate that goes into the spreadsheet and then does all the arithmetic for you, so you can take another iteration.
okay.
But it was my understanding that, you have to adjust the valuations based on the new sales.
Yeah,
And then when you do that, you take this file and put it through the spreadsheet, and it gives you an idea of what the coefficients of dispersion are and does all the arithmetic.
Yeah,
so that you can then go in and say, oh, price per square foot isn't right,
right.
and I'll do that. And then you generate another report. So you're
Okay.
iterating
Yeah.
in on it.
So I'm doing it a different way simply because I can scan it and see, oh, that's low. And I can actually, yes, so that's,
It doesn't need the spreadsheet. It's all up in
yeah.
the vault there.
Well, I mean, hey,
And then I do the calculations at the end when I'm like, okay, that seems right. And that's my thing is that statistics has got us really far. But we actually are in a place where we need to start applying valuation techniques to it. And so that's what I've been doing.
great.
And that's taking a while.
It should. I mean, that is the most appropriate and valuable use of your time.
Well, and I'm doing very well, so I'm gaining, there's a lot of value out there that I have gained.
Yes,
Good for you.
yes.
Yes.
Better to gain value than wait, as we all know. But it'd be interesting. At some point, I'd love to see what you're doing, just
Okay.
for my own edification.
Yeah, I have been including Evan in on my brain ideas and I'm like, oh, look at this. Here's this piece. Oh, this is interesting. This is what's wrong with this piece. Oh, look at that. We're gonna
I'd
have
love to hear those discussions.
we're gonna have to completely break this down, but not right now, because right now we're focused on this. So, yeah. Anyway,
Maybe December,
Yes, so December.
post classification.
Post classification
Yeah.
will be a fun time when Evan and I will break down tables and.
And just for the purposes of open meeting law, in the past, when one or both of us has helped the assessor's office with assessor's office, like math work, clerical work, not policy discussions, but like Jim's saying, calculating CODs or
Yeah,
making phone calls or stuff. That's not considered, that's considered what office help, right? So
okay,
office help is not,
Open meeting law.
right. So when one or both of us is working with you guys on office help, we don't have to worry about it being a core.
okay, that's enough.
Well, I think maybe the right way to look at it is when we're here, we are members of the board.
Mm.
When we are talking about board stuff, we are members of the board. But when we are talking about calculations and stuff like that, we do so as residents.
Okay,
Helpers, volunteers,
Helpers, yeah,
sounds good,
random people.
awesome.
right. Well, we're sort of random, but anyhow. Okay, so we have.
That's the calendar.
Yes,
So the calendar is
Well, and I wanted
classification.
to be transparent about the calendar, so I kind of work in a black box. Nobody knows what I do over here. So I wanted to open the box a little bit
Oh,
and
great.
let people know how we were doing. Yes. So what I'm working on now is the submission to the DOR.
Mhm.
The DOR. So I'm reworking the LA3. I have the single family homes done and the condos are almost done. I have one that I'm totally stuck on. And I'm gonna have to get tech support in on that one because I have one property, just one, that refuses to do its thing. So I'll need to get.
Do its thing.
It's not, so the properties calculate in a batch.
Yeah.
Once I change I get the code in the right value, so that it's now market value.
Mhm.
They all calculate all together.
Yep.
And I have one property that refuses to do that.
That can't be calculated.
That won't, it's not attaching to that calculation
Yeah,
batch.
this is a IT software problem.
So I
not
think
a-
that is a IT software problem and I shall
Yes.
hand it over to IT.
Yep.
Next on the list is I need to get through the 2 families, then the 3 families, and then the apartments.
Mhm.
and then go into commercial. Commercial shouldn't be too bad, I'm hoping. But then that's
Well,
where. I
all of
am
those
at
are
there.
pretty, are much smaller than the single family.
Yes, so the single family homes was my
It's
biggest.
the vast majority of all the
Yeah.
properties.
What is it?
So
5,000?
I've spent 63 hours on that, just so you know. And then all the rest of the tax rate stuff goes, fills in from there,
Yeah.
so we're not quite done with that. And then, I don't have the overlay balances yet, because I don't have, all the
Info from
pieces
the
for
other
that.
departments. Yeah.
But I also wanted to let you guys know what was going on with the growth sheets. So the growth sheets
It's magical.
we have almost all the bits and pieces. They're doing a couple, while I'm fiddling with the numbers, they're doing a couple of things as well. And once I'm done with the numbers, I will hand actually this project over to you, and you will update everything and add in the personal property from RC.
RRC, yeah.
And I do have that, so we do have
Nice.
that piece, so that piece is
Nice.
in there, and then we are waiting on chapter lands, which I don't know how many of those we have. But there shouldn't be that
fair
many new
number.
ones.
New ones,
New
I don't
ones?
know about that. Probably not very many new ones,
Not very many new,
but a lot of existing.
yes, a lot of the existing, so there's not gonna be a lot of growth in the new.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect any.
So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to update everybody on where we are at, and so just to lift the box a little bit,
You
to
definitely,
let people know I'm doing stuff.
I think you're doing the right things. And I really like the prioritization. That's one thing that our department has struggled with in the past is prioritizing time, especially of the chief assessor. And I love it. You come in here and you say, I'm spending all my time on DOR and classification. I'm like, yes, do that.
Well, I appreciate it. Not everybody's appreciating it.
Well,
They're pulling me in a lot of directions.
That's, if we don't do that right, the state takes over our town. So why don't you focus on that?
Okay, all right, noted.
Well, I guess we need to obtain the tax rate approval, which is the full council.
Yeah, classification hearing.
Yeah.
And that's, when is that one?
We're the ones that.
That should be already scheduled.
I'm not sure.
Oh, well, that would be key. We need to get,
Okay.
so we got
So-
Ways and Means on the 18th, you said.
Classification,
Ways and Means.
Ways and Means.
Yeah,
Get a
And that's
meeting
on
notice?
that's on the 18th. So that's 11/18. So we do our classification
after that.
after?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
classification is the full council. Ways and Means is the subcommittee.
okay.
So we go to the subcommittee first. Again, it's kind of like a pre-meeting.
I got it.
And then we go to classification, which is the full council. It often happens like at the John Zahn Center, the big audience,
Okay.
It's
Full, what did you call it?
the full city council,
Full city,
the entire city council. It is a city council meeting.
okay.
So we don't schedule it. We ask whoever the city council scheduler, or the clerk, we ask the clerks to schedule that.
The Ways and Means meeting, I have the 18th, but I've got just a bogus time, 8 to 9. What time do we?
I have it at 6 PM to 8 PM.
That's what I thought.
But I just have that written in here. I don't have an official invitation from
Neither do
the
I.
council. So council needs to be sending out official invitations to us. I thought I already had one, but
I have an official one.
maybe I do have an official invitation, but just wasn't a Google Calendar entry. So that's probably what happened. So yeah, they did invite us, right, to the Ways and Means?
They invited me and they invited you.
I think they did. I think I recall seeing that. But anyways, then they should be sending us one for the classification city
Okay.
council meeting.
Okay, yes, joining meeting with Ways and Means in November. Okay. All right, so, okay, so yeah, that's Tuesday, November 18th at 6 PM via City Hall meeting room, second floor.
Yeah.
Is that this room?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we've got that, and so for that one, we are telling them, do we do this in executive session or what do we tell them in?
Well,
Both of them, it's the same material.
Okay,
So it's, again, the Ways and Means is like a pre-meeting.
Okay.
And the material, I mean, it's defined by state law, what we do in that meeting.
okay,
And as an amateur, my understanding is that the main goal of the meeting is to set the tax rate.
okay,
But the other things that we have to do besides setting the tax rate is we have to decide on all these exemptions. So the split tax rate
Okay.
is like an exempt, it's one first thing, and then the residential exemption, and then there's like 2 or 3 other like tiny, like affordable, small business, affordable housing, things that we don't do because, well, we talked about it last year in the meeting. We could probably reuse a lot of that material from last year
I
and
think
some of
that-
these little ones.
yeah.
The
Why don't we send you
stuff from
the
last year.
stuff from last year?
okay,
Yeah.
that would help.
Okay.
Yeah, that would help a lot. So anyways, so those little exemptions are like one sliders, like, you know, small business exemption, we recommend against because we don't have any, or there's no money in it, or whatever we did. The ones that were, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just along those lines, not only will I send you the Ways and Means materials, but I'll also send you the classification hearing deck.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Awesome.
Yeah. So anyways, but the real part of the meeting though is you're basically summarizing the numbers that led you up to the tax rate.
Oh,
So, right,
that'll
so
be fun.
like, here's the value of all the property, here's the value of the single family versus duplex versus commercial. Here's what changed from last year. I'm sure you know all, you will know what to do in that. It's that kind of stuff. Just sort of explaining at the summary level. And
Okay, so if I don't have it actually approved, I think I can.
we can do Ways and Means without that.
I think I can make that happen, because frankly, I'm doing a good enough job, I can't imagine that they will actually kick it back. I understand everybody else gets a kickback, but the reason they get a kickback is because they're not being this meticulous.
You mean
And I'm
from
being-
DOR?
Yes, from
Yeah.
DOR, and I'm being meticulous enough that
Good.
there is nothing that I don't think.
But
I suggest you stay in touch with the DOR rep.
I just
I mean,
talked to them now.
That ought to be your twin sister.
Yeah, so we are. Yeah,
Everything okay there?
it is basically, I have to prove myself first. So
Okay.
with the next submission, I can prove myself and then we'll be best buds and then we can go from there.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the marriage announcement.
Yeah.
What? Are you engaged? What are we talking
She's
about?
engaged with DOR, that's
Oh.
for damn sure.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm certainly spending enough time on it, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Okay.
okay, so, all
right.
right, that helps me out and maybe I can, lower the volume a little, so,
Wow.
all right.
You mean
Okay.
noise in your head?
Yes.
That
nice and keep, as you say, the priorities straight.
Well, but, okay, now can I give you the real true advice, which you probably already know, but I just want to make it clear.
Okay,
Just as is the case in these meetings, sometimes too much information is not helpful. Because when people don't have the context or the experience or the background in a particular thing, and you present it and they get questions and they don't understand, it confuses them. And then when they ask those questions, then other people are like, and it can totally derail all the meetings and the process and everything.
okay,
So it's really important it's really important that when you give numbers, that you clearly explain what they are in layperson's terms and don't give a lot of detail below because it'll go off the rails.
Well, I
well,
think,
and I think, I'm kind of hoping y'all can keep me there.
it will,
Try.
it will we'll do everything we can in that meeting. But
Okay.
beforehand,
We
everything
should
that
probably.
Chuck is talking about, it's better for you to see what we did. And then.
Yeah, look at
last
year's.
His comments are more meaningful.
Yeah.
Okay,
last year.
that will help.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, so,
So there's my update on calendar.
That's great.
no, but this is, okay, so if we're in that, we should talk about those things. So again, the real things to talk about, the real one, the most real one is the split tax rate.
Okay,
And what we said in the past, and maybe you can, let me see if you agree. What we said in the past is that it appears that there is about twice as much or 3 times as much residential value as there is commercial value in Greenfield.
okay,
There's a vast difference.
okay,
It's about 3 to
yes.
1.
Okay, 3 to 1. So
Have
given
you done
that,
the actual stats on that? Oh, of course
Yes.
you have.
yes, so, but given that, the whole purpose of the split tax rate is right to push more of the tax onto the commercial from the residential. But the problem is when you have a 3 to 1 ratio, that means that no matter what, or how you move that split, it means that to get a decrement of 1 for residential, you get a increment of 3 for commercial. Because it's just not enough. And
Yeah.
so if we would try and reduce the tax rate of residential materially enough that anyone would notice, it would cause the business taxes to basically go like double, to be enormous.
Triple.
Triple,
Well,
huge. Not, I mean, double of what they are, not double of what
Well-
the increase is.
And those calculations are gonna quadruple again based off of the adjustments I'm making.
So similar,
So,
a similar point, which is essentially, there's no point in doing a split tax rate because we can't help residential enough. Even if we completely destroyed commercial and just did terrible things to them, it would not make a material contribution to residential. So it
Interesting.
doesn't make sense to do, right? Because if you double the tax rate on businesses, I mean, no one can survive like a doubling, right? That's crazy. So let's say, okay, well, let's just increase commercial by 10 or 20%. You know, they can take it. Residential will only see like a 3% decrease. They won't notice.
3 to 6%.
Oh, I see.
So it's not, you don't get the value out of it. All you do is hurt yourself. If we had more business, we
Okay.
would love to do a split rate. We're all very much like, let's take the money away from these people and give it to our taxpayers. But we can't do that until we have more businesses to leech off.
And frankly, the most appropriate way to do that is to do it through data collection and all of the assessing or the valuation I'm doing. So in particular, we'll talk about in an executive section, but I've gained several $1 million in value just off of valuing things correctly.
Good for you.
And I have not looked into the apartments and all of the big complexes and stuff like that.
Where are the
So-
big differences?
Huh?
Where are the big differences?
It's how you value. So currently we are valuing based off of price per square foot. And the market values price per dwelling unit, room unit, various things like that. So simply by changing that, that is how we are actually capturing real value. And so I've got a class of homes or a class of buildings in particular that are going up $2 to $3 million simply by valuing them appropriately based off of per unit. And it'll total like 100%. We present this in court. I can, if they come back with an abatement, which they might, I can 100% stand up in court and say, this is how it is valued. This is the proof.
Yeah,
We're
and
not gonna-
this is what we've dreamed about doing since I got elected.
And it's gonna be way more impactful than anything monkeying around with the rates.
Well, first of all, I think this is wonderful news. The taxpayers, all of them, if they're going to see any significant change in their valuations, we're going to have to be very careful about explaining why.
Yes, and that's another issue. And that's something that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So thank you for bringing it up.
Mhm.
So the year of 2024 is when house valuations went hugely crazy.
Yep.
Bidding wars and all of this stuff.
Yep.
I was gonna print it out and so prices spiked like 8 to 10%, 11%.
Mhm, mhm.
And so that is something that we might want to. But, you know. when the
But we might
Everyone's
want
aware.
to- I'm sorry, might want to.
We might want to, like, bring up at the meeting, we need to talk about it in those terms, we need to talk about it, the fact that the market is crazy. And you need somebody who can match that crazy, because in 2025, it's probably gonna go down a little bit. And.
The
we're gonna-
valuations are gonna go down.
Yes, for housing. So I'm seeing that in some places. It's not much.
Yeah.
But it is gonna be a roller coaster, and I think that we need to present it in those terms of, hey, we're not gouging you. This is the market moving this fast.
We fought that battle.
Yep.
We fought that battle the last two classification hearings.
Okay, how did that go?
Well, there was nothing to be done. I mean, everybody knew, both residents as well as council members, everybody knew that house prices had gone crazy.
Yeah.
And Randy, he basically, he said, we all know this is happening. And he said, but I tried to mitigate it and spread it as much as I could. So he tried to spread it across those 2 years more evenly. He tried to, like shave the edges off it, not make it quite as sharp. But everyone's taxes went up.
I think the total was about 16%.
But to be fair, everyone's valuations went up a lot.
That's the
The
thing.
taxes also went up because Mayor Wedegartner, in her final year, spent like a drunken sailor, including what the library and some other things. And when Ginny came in, it had already happened. So Jim and I spent a tremendous amount of time explaining to many individuals, as well as to Ways and Means and others, about the difference between your taxes and your valuation and the tax rate. And basically
Okay.
saying both of these things went up. So valuations went up crazily, the market went up crazily. But in the end, that's not what pushed your taxes up. All valuations do is affect how much more or less you pay than your neighbor.
Yeah,
But because Roxanne spent like a drunken sailor, that's why everyone's taxes went up.
okay,
Yeah, I think the issue is the only purpose of valuation is to make sure that we can set a tax rate based on the budget.
Okay.
No, the purpose of valuation for individual properties is to make sure that people are paying correct taxes relative to their neighbor.
But we look at valuation in aggregate.
In aggregate, just to do the math of what the tax rate is.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Mhm.
But you're exactly right, because the only thing that really matters is that tax rate being applied to your specific property and valuation.
well, and as long as you follow it right, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yep.
as long as you follow it right, it's okay. So we're gonna go up this year, and I'm going to go back down the next year.
We're-
And I'm gonna follow it the next year, and I'm
Well,
gonna follow it the
but-
next year.
What was really important and relevant about this discussion is to residents and even to council members before we had these discussions. What had happened is Roxanne had trumpeted in her final year how that she had brought the tax rate down,
Oh,
but she didn't. I'm sure spending went up,
right,
but because
The valuation.
valuations went up,
yes,
she was able to say, look, the tax rate went down.
Yeah, it was
Um,
like,
and
prior, it was like 20 or 21, and then it went down to 19 and change.
yeah,
So it was not a big,
so anyways, that little equation about valuation, tax rate, taxes, that's what we spent so much time explaining to so many individuals, as well as the council, to explain that thing.
Okay.
But then we also had to talk about why the city spent, the city spending more, it meant your taxes actually going up, and why valuations were also going up to the crazy market. So it was really important to explain to individuals that the reason why you should make sure your property record card is accurate is so that it's not about the specific valuation number, although a lot of people like to run around to their realtor and be like, I'm
Yes.
bigger, less, or whatever. It's not about that. It's about you versus the person next to you. And if you guys had identical houses, right, or if yours is a little different,
In the
that's what's
same
important.
neighborhood.
Right. So anyways, we had all those discussions. I don't think you're going to need to belabor that very much because I think our
Okay.
council,
So you think
knows
you did
that
it
stuff.
last year? That's good.
yeah,
That's
they
good to
know that stuff.
Well, but we have a number of new counselors and the new
There will
counselors
be a
are
little
always
of
an
that.
issue.
But what we really need to spend time on though, besides just here's what the tax rate is and here's the general way we got there, is the split issue. Because that, I know for a
Okay.
fact that some of the new counselors definitely want a split rate.
Okay.
And last year,
Yeah,
people wanted it too.
Let's get the deck to you, what we did at Ways and Means, because, you know, we did a split tax rate analysis. I
Right, we
mean,
showed
there
the
was a lot
numbers
of.
on, if
there's
you
a
went
lot
up
of
10,
stuff.
if you
So
split 60-40,
why
if you
don't we
did
move on?
Oh, that's a
55,
really good
45.
statistical analysis thing
Right,
that you're
what-
probably really good at.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay,
So that was that. The next thing that we needed to talk about was the residential exemption. And the reason that I want to.
why don't we have other stuff to cover. And I think the deck and the contents of the deck will
Okay.
make the
Yeah, but
discussion more
I-
meaningful.
I want to talk about the residential exemption. I want to talk about it. Not about how we show it in the deck, not about, I want to talk about it.
But the residential, well, is this the right time for it, is the
I think
question.
it is, because Ways and Means is in 2 weeks. So we need to have an aligned position, and people may want to watch on TV what our real thoughts are about that before we go to Ways and Means, because then we're going to talk to Ways and Means about it. So we need to get aligned on it.
Well, you mean aligned in terms of
Our recommendation.
whatever our recommendation is,
Yes.
we've got to be lined up.
Yes.
Well, I think when you take a look at the previous deck and the calculations that were there, it just comes right out. And there's nothing wrong with having a special Board of Assessors meeting.
I don't think it comes right out at all.
Okay.
And you know, I did these calculations.
We both did. Anyhow, let's get
You
through.
want to get through the other
business.
stuff and then we can get to that. Okay.
Okay, so the status of the permit inspection.
Those are complete, or at least as complete as we're gonna get.
For now. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And can you send an updated permit file?
That will take a while. So what
December.
kind of updated permit file are you looking for?
Just one that is a little more current than last year's.
Oh, wait, are you talking about the file of permits?
Yeah,
That comes from the building department, not from us.
it comes to us, so it can go into the camera system.
Yeah,
So that whatever inputs we've gotten from the inspection department, just pass them over, that's all. Because that's the work you did.
no, that's not how I did it at all. I got all of the permit information, every permit from the building
I
department,
understand that, and that is, you got it in a file, right?
several which I combined into one big file. Yes, and then I combined that stuff with the assessing information. I did that. Randy never did that.
I understand that, but the file that we got, even if you combined it,
I did.
okay, well, I'd sort of like to see what the updated file looks like in terms of the number of new permits, the number of closed permits, the value of the permits.
Oh, yeah.
That's something we should
Okay.
do. Me and you should do. We don't need Christina to do that.
Well, we
I
need.
have that already. It's
Oh, you
basically
do?
what we've been working off of.
Nice.
Let me see. The caveat with that is we haven't been doing a lot of closed permitting. So they're.
They never close.
Yeah, they
Yeah, we
never
know.
close.
Well, and
We know.
So that's an issue. And then
Yes,
also
it
they're
is.
not in Patriot yet. So we still have not,
The module.
yes, now,
Yeah.
you know, I am going to, once Alex, I don't know, one of the things that I'm gonna have our
Evan.
friend Evan do is we're
Got
gonna,
there eventually.
yes, we're
You
gonna,
may
once
not
you
like
get
being a friend.
Patriot, we're still working on a login for Patriot. Once you get that, I'm gonna actually have you put in all of the permits ahead of the
Module actually working.
module actually working, because I want this easier for 2025, no matter how badly the tech screws up, and if it never comes, because we've got some issues with condos. Yeah, so
Yes.
those are gonna have to be completely redone.
Yes.
I'm surprised you know about that.
Oh, Randy,
no, we know about that.
Randy, the word condo would send him into
Huh,
a bad place.
interesting.
He said they were all, like, the valuations were they weren't right and they were all over the place, and that some of them went crazy high because the market like went crazy for condos. And then, yeah, he was forever
Okay.
condos. We know that they're difficult.
Or there are difficulties there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess,
I like your facial expressions.
so I guess that sort of takes care of the update on the status of adding building from the PRCs. Yeah.
Not the PRCs. What's a PRC?
Property record card.
Oh, the property record cards, yes, okay, got it, yes, got it, yes.
Okay, and an update on the assessor public information education sessions. We've set a couple of dates.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Jonathan is supposed to be helping us promote said sessions.
Oh, okay,
And I think, we've been also doing these sessions at the senior center and the library. And I think my sense is nobody's showing up, nobody cares. So we don't do them, but we use these educational sessions, and maybe we put them on the website so
okay,
people can view them. And the best time for doing this is when the tax bills go out,
Yes.
in anticipation of the tax bills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was about it. And I think I sent you last year's deck.
oh, was that last year's deck? Oh, okay.
Well, it isn't this year's deck.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
But I think in general, the decks that deck needs to be updated,
Okay,
the educational deck. And also the decks we've used for classification, hearing, and ways and means, all of those need to be updated too, because there's a lot of data from other cities.
oh, okay.
Okay, so update on potential policy requiring homeowners to obtain an appraisal if they've requested an abatement.
Because you
for the
talked about that,
third time.
you
Huh?
talked about that, but it should have been in public,
Oh,
yeah,
It,
because you guys, that's why that's in there, just like.
oh,
Okay,
okay,
just so,
Because you
So we need
discussed
to
it, but it
repeat it.
wasn't repeat what,
okay.
yeah.
So
Cool.
That's
let me
why.
see, what did I say? I said that I was getting pretty far with the educational issues. And as a matter of fact, there was a person who wanted me to lower the value and all this stuff. And they're like, I'm gonna do an abatement, I'm gonna do an abatement. And they started going off on this weird tangent, and I'm like, okay, sounds good. Give me the X, Y, Z, P, D, and Q. And it's like, well, I don't want to give you that. And I'm like, well, if you don't have that, then you can't have an abatement. And then he's like, oh, well, okay, well, I'll give you a little bit, but you shouldn't look at this information and you shouldn't look at that information. And I'm like, well, if we go to an abatement, it will be part of discovery. So if you would like to do a formal abatement hearing, you may do that in January, but you will need to supply,
good for you.
all of these things. And then frankly, and then he said, okay, well, I'll give you the other stuff, but you really shouldn't have this stuff. And I never heard from him again.
Yeah,
So that is actually working. And so I'm going to keep just pounding away We only want valuation. I don't care about the rest of the stuff. Give me your documentation. If it's right, I'll adjust it. If it's not,
I mean,
You're
if
gonna
it's
have to
not,
come
we'll
up.
adjust it. If it is right,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you give me any information, I will consider any information. If you give me any information, that's on you, your counsel, whatever. But I'm only interested in data. And that does seem to be working. And so that has cut down a lot on all of that stuff. So that has really helped. So I think that might be a better
Support your
direction
approach.
to go instead of making a hard rule. Because I liked what you said about the whole, if we make a hard rule, then, we kind of have to stick to it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I like your approach very much.
Okay, so I think we'll just stick with the.
well,
I'm just
yeah,
not accepting anything else.
but I think what you're saying, hey, Steve, is, you're data driven and you want data.
Yes, I am data driven and I want data. And I actually even told the guy, hey, look, I have no dog in this fight. I don't care if it goes up. I don't care if it goes down. All I care about is getting it right. I just care about the data.
For
I'm
wings,
just not,
you have your wings.
I have wings.
That's what the teacher of the 200 course used to say, to make that exact point, that when we work to make things fair and don't work to make it, by this way or that way, that we are, it can't be touched, that we are invulnerable. She called it wings, like fly
Okay.
above
We're
everyone
flying
else.
above everyone. You
Yeah.
are correct. I'm flying above it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's, I don't know, it's a
Yeah.
crazy metaphor she used.
I like
but-
it. I like it.
So if you, I'm sure you'll run into her at some point. I forget her name is, the one who taught the 200 course.
Missy?
Yeah, her.
Yeah,
Oh, I talked to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your
She's
wings.
lovely.
Yeah,
she is.
okay. So can we,
Okay, this is requesting an abatement for the third time?
again, that was the hard rule approach.
Yeah, and we decided that was just not.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, so we're not gonna consider an abatement unless they come back with some data.
That.
Yes, and I'm finding that if I voice that over and over again,
it
it
works.
is working. So they
Okay.
either go away or they come up with data.
Okay,
And
and,
we'll see if it holds. Maybe it won't hold.
but I think can you enumerate the data you're looking for?
Yes,
You- That
exactly.
you tell them,
Yes. I am
Okay.
telling them exactly what I want.
and can you tell us?
For commercial property, I want your rent rolls. I want your rent rolls. I want all previous appraisals. I see that you had a mortgage for $13 million in 2021. You're gonna have to give me that appraisal. You need to give me that appraisal.
Okay,
So it's, any other evaluations you did, all that stuff.
okay, what about comparables?
So they are gonna have to come up with some reason. I kind of don't care what they come up with unless it's an appraisal,
Yeah, you're the one who provides the comparables, not them.
kind of, yeah.
Well.
And if they are coming up with comparables.
They always do.
And I
And they're
think
not
that's right,
comparable.
but that's part of discovery.
Well, I mean, before we even get to that point, I mean, it's a lot of people don't understand what comparables are.
Yes. They
I
don't.
mean, they
Their
think, well,
comparables are not
this house is
comparable.
as big as my house, or those taxes
Yes.
the same as my taxes. And I think we need to give them some guidance on what comparables mean, or the data. So there's a handout that we can basically use. That says,
That's not a
here's how
bad
you
idea.
do it.
Well, especially now that we have the modules, they can go online and do
Exactly.
it themselves.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all just sort of an
It-
approach.
There is some of that in the educational deck too.
Nice.
So,
Okay, excise weeks, I
okay.
believe we just signed them.
Fine.
Okay, so that's the end of the agenda. Now can we talk about the residential exemption?
Sure.
All
Okay,
right.
um,
What?
So what is,
Residential exemption.
yeah, what is the residential exemption? So the
I would like some
residential,
context, please.
yeah, the residential exemption, we're not talking about individual exemptions. We're talking about something that's applied to everybody. So first off, the basic idea of it is that people with higher priced properties end up paying more than people with lower priced properties. And the way that that's done is you literally exempt a fixed amount from everybody's property. So we're only talking
Oh, I
residential here,
see. Okay.
right? So if perhaps $50,000. So we exempt $50,000 in valuation from all residential properties. Bang.
Okay.
And then when you do that, of course, if you have a cheaper property, that's a bigger portion of your value. If you have a more expensive property, it's a smaller portion. So because of the magic formula of budget, tax rate, valuation that we just talked about, we're going to have to come up with the money one way or the other. So when you do a residential exemption, what it does is it raises the tax rate. It raises the tax rate, just it has to, because we're exempting, right? 50K of value times the number of properties is a big number of value that we're just disappearing.
Mhm.
So, but we still have to make the same tax number. So that means we have to raise the tax rate. The effect of raising the tax rate, if you were a little guy, your exempted value is more than the increase that that tax rate does to what's left. So you win. If you have a 200K house and we exempted 50K and the tax rate goes up by 5%, you win. You still are paying less taxes. But if you have an expensive house, okay, then you've got 9/10, say you have a 500K house. Well, you still have 450 left and you have that higher tax rate. So you end up paying significantly more despite that exempted 50K. Your taxes are significantly more. So that's how it's done.
That's at the extremes.
Well, that is the general calculation.
That is a general calculation, but the increase in taxes for the high value property owner, yes, that goes up. But there is a range in the middle where the changes are not very large.
Right, it cancels out. And there's, in fact, I did a graph of this when I was trying to get elected. I showed a graph of this to everybody,
It's a
and
good thing you got elected despite the graph.
and you can see there's a crossover point. So in this case, the crossover point, and it doesn't matter how much the percentage is or how much value exempt, crossover is always in the same place. And for Greenfield, that crossover ended up being about 350K in the year that I did it. So if your house was valued at less than 350, you would pay less taxes with a residential exemption. If it was more than 350, you would pay more. That's just how it worked out, no matter how much. And then we could adjust how much, we could make it so that if your house was, less, you pay nothing. And people who have a big house pay a ton. I mean, you can make that amount, but the crossover point was about 350 no matter
And
what.
what was our recommendation?
Well, all right, now you get to the good part. But first, let me give one more detail. Typically, in the residential exemption, one other factor is whether the property is owner occupied. So if you have a way of calculating or figuring out whether someone is owner occupied, which turns out to be quite difficult, but I did an estimate, just looking at the mailing address for the bill versus the address of the property. But if you believe, and by the way, that's something I always have in my homegrown databases, this stuff. I always make a calculation of whether the property is owner occupied or not. That's a very useful thing to have. But anyways, if you're owner occupied, you get the exemption. If you're not owner occupied, you don't get it at all. So we talked about the 200K guy, 50 off, he's 150. 500K guy, 50 off, he's 450. But if you have a 500K rental that you don't live in, you don't get that 50 off. You're straight up still 500, and you have that higher tax rate that everybody got. So you get double nailed. So the purpose of the residential exemption is in communities that have a lot of rentals. It's a way to sock the tax to all the rich rental owners who don't live in town because of all the vacation homes, right? It's a way to make them pay a lot, and then all the locals don't have to.
I think one of the
That's the
issues.
concept.
Yeah, well, but I think we have to frame it as, we should not frame it as soak the rich.
It doesn't
What we are talking about are
matter.
people who have larger, more valuable properties generally pay more taxes. And I mean, that's just the general rule. And with this exemption, they'll pay a little more than they
Right.
might otherwise.
But for people who have rentals they don't live in, they'll pay
That's right.
even more.
That's
And
correct.
I made a little bar chart of like those three categories and how much it would go up. So that's all nice, but that's just context. So the real question is, should we do that here in Greenfield and why? And why should we do it? Well, because we have a lot of struggling people at the low end. We have people at high end who could afford it. And certainly nobody likes the out of town landlords. So that would be, hey, we should do it for that reason. The main reason we should not do it, which was told to me while I was campaigning by someone on the common, is because if we sock it to landlords, it's going to just spill down to the renters and they can't afford a rent increase. And so in the past, and at the most recent classification hearing and the one before it, that was both that, everybody sort of bought that argument that we shouldn't do a residential exemption. It's really only effectively done in Cape Cod and Truro and those places where there's lots and lots of vacay homes. If we do it here, all it's going to do is raise rents for renters. That's all it's going to do. We're not going to really help anybody. So that's what we have argued, and everybody bought into why we have never had a residential exemption in Greenfield because of that reason. I've been looking back at that, and I'm not so sure anymore because I think it's already the case that landlords already have all the power in the world to raise their rents all that they would ever want. And so us socking them with an extra 5% or whatever isn't going to change that calculation. They're already turning the screws on their renters as much as their renters can afford.
Well, I think this comes into the income and expense stuff. Because if they pay more taxes, I mean, if they have more expenses, then you should see a corresponding increase in the rent roll.
Yeah, but yes, we should definitely value rental properties better. But aside from that, this is a question about even if we did value all the properties correctly, including income expense for properties that have a lot of rental units, which I don't know if, I think we'll talk about that. But separate from that, this is a political question. It's a political policy question of, are we going to try and do this? And what do you think, Christina?
I would be very curious as to how your graph works with the new numbers that I've got. So I'm very curious about that. My only comments are we have more low-end properties than we do high-end properties.
That's exactly right.
But we do have, so if you're gonna rent a property, you rent the low-end stuff. You don't rent out the high-end stuff because nobody can afford. So it's one of the whole things about one of the abatements that we're doing. Highest and best use came up where should this be a 4 or 5, 6 apartment building instead of a single family home? Well, the reason why it doesn't work that way is because multifamily homes are actually less expensive right now.
Yeah.
Because you can't rent a property, you can't rent a $5,000 a month 3-bedroom, gorgeous, lovely, awesome
Because there is.
place on a lake. Nobody wants to pay $5,000 a month for a rental. And that's the problem, is that they're renting the low-end properties. So in one way, I do kind of like it because that means that we're exempting the people who have low-end properties that are still living there.
Mhm.
And we are still capturing the value for the landlords that are X. My real problem with it is compliance. That it's going to be so difficult to police that I'm not sure how
You mean whether it's owner occupied or
whether it's
not?
owner occupied, they would have to I mean, there are ways I can do it property by property. Cause just found one the other day and I always find one. So there's always an example. But found one the other day, we were talking about this one where they're doing work without a permit. They've been cited for doing work without a permit. I look on apartments.com and oh, look at that, it's being listed and I can now see that you've done work to the house. I can put the property back in its proper condition. I can send my lister out. I'm just going to take a picture of it and all that. We're going to capture that value, all of this stuff. But the amount of time it takes to go property by property by property would be so difficult that I'm not sure it would be worth it
To figure out if it's owner occupied.
to figure out whether it's owner occupied. Because, I mean, this guy's doing like backflips and circles to say that he's owner occupied. And he's muddied the waters enough that that it would be easy to convince someone that he's an owner occupied, even though he's not on the deed, so he's not an owner occupied.
How does that relate to where you vote,
Where I vote on it,
No,
No,
where that person votes,
where that person votes?
where his voter registration.
If his voter
This is
reg-
another technique of solving that. And
oh, I
anyway,
see, matching it through the voter roll.
yeah, but let's not get a feel because this topic has already been chewed on quite a bit. So the way I did it when I was doing this stuff, like I said, involved a lot of string operations, but looking at where the bill goes versus the property address. That was the most basic way.
Okay,
It's not perfect at all. Most basic, but
and we can come up with an abatement application that says, hey, prove that you live here and.
we could do that, yeah.
And we'll take it off.
But the more relevant thing, so I think we talked about the project, the rental registry project, where Sarah Brown went around to all these places, these multifamilies, and said, are they really, and how many apartments and all that. Remember, we talked about that. She did a little report, which I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It was one of your first meetings. We talked about this.
Maybe I
Yeah.
remember my
Yeah.
head.
Anyway, so I came up with the idea couple years ago to do what some other towns have done, which is I was shocked that Greenfield actually didn't know how many apartments were in Greenfield. We just don't know. The system, CAMA system, has some info on it, but it's not, you can't find out like the address of an apartment. It's not in there that it's apartment 2A versus 2. A lot of that stuff is not right.
Yeah, I may go through and fix that.
That would be a tremendous thing. But the point is that what other cities have done is generally led by their health department or their building department. They actually have a database of apartments in town.
Mhm.
Just these are all the apartments in town. Here's all their addresses. And that database is like a combo of like the assessing database and the health department inspection database and the building department. And they all kind of come together to make this rental registry. And that's what Sarah was trying to do, is kind of the first step to see what would happen if we had that. So that would be the ultimate way of knowing. It's the ultimate way of knowing if there's an owner occupied apartment in a building with more than a single family home. But that's in the future, right? We don't have that now. So we would have to make a wild estimate of whether they are owner occupied. And then we would have to do all
This
this
is all
policy math.
relevant to the residential exemption.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. We would have to have that owner occupied info, and we would have to do this policy math. But I think what's important here is we need to make a recommendation to Ways and Means. Do we think the residential exemption would be a political move that they should consider that might fill their political motives or not? And I think it absolutely, in the past, we said it wouldn't because it would raise rents, but now I'm not sure that's true. And so our recommendation should be based on what it will do for their constituents.
Well, the how you handle the politics is completely different than this is the economic impact, including raising rent. And then the decision of how to display that information, how to talk about that information, how to make sure that they get reelected or they don't get their houses egged.
Yeah, no, it's the economic, I just say it's political because their decision is political. But we present the economic info.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, but whatever they decide, they're going to decide, and it has nothing to do with us. And I don't even want to go there because I think the more you have a data-driven argument.
Yes, yes.
And number one, even we have a way of presenting data that is correct for us, right?
The real thing I'm trying to get out
We-
of this meeting right here, right now, is based on your expertise and our shared understanding of what the residential exemption is. Do you think, given that our council is very progressive and would like to do what the residential exemption is supposed to do you think that we should consider that that might be an option that they would want? Or should we do the same thing we did in prior years and basically say, you shouldn't consider it because this isn't true?
Well, that's why I think, the stuff that we used at Ways and Means is so important to see before, saying, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, that's actually, so my opinion is that we can present the data and then they can figure it out from there, frankly. So we can, if you want to apply, so I can give you my new numbers, you can,
The calculations are done in the state system.
okay.
There's a page in that system specifically for residential exemption that you have to. fill
Oh,
out.
yeah, that was the other thing that was going through my head was, oh my gosh, I do not want to calculate that. So I am,
Fortunately, you don't.
so yes, so
All you have to
if you
do
want my real opinion, don't do that to me.
All right.
That's my real opinion.
See, this is why we're talking. Next year.
However, next year,
Next year.
my goal is that we may have the data to back that up because my goal this year is to break every law down that you just mentioned and actually, I mean, not for the reasons that you're stating, but we do need to, I mean, those are things that we have to do and we have to do anyway in order to get planning hooked with
Yes.
us, in order to get shared databases, in
Yes.
order to do all this stuff, that has to happen.
Yes, it does. That's what I
And
said 2 years ago.
yes, it needs to happen and it's going to be a huge lift, which is why I chose.
Oh, I
our
see. It's
guy
Evan's
right
job.
here.
I just started. It's on my third day. I can't even get in the system yet.
But he has shown an interest in databases and that kind of thing. So
Well,
one of the
we've done a lot of
things that we're going to
Database
do,
management in the past. So.
yeah, so we are excited about utilizing that in his background. And, we need to pull everything apart. We need to actually synchronize, but it's going to take it's a huge lift. It is a huge lift. I'm going to have to tear even one of those condos apart and rebuild them. And it sounds like I might have to do that. I haven't looked into the apartments yet.
I think there are 35 condos, so if you do one, you're gonna do them all.
Yeah, I just take them all.
Anyway,
Okay.
so do you
But we
think,
are going to have to completely rebuild them,
so do you think
parcel by parcel.
are we gonna
Or by
recommend a Ways and Means that, the
That we don't have the
residential
technical
exemption,
We don't have the technical competency to do that at this time.
right, but we will definitely be presenting something to them next year, which might, give them a decision.
I think we have the technical competency. We don't have clean data.
Yeah, we don't have clean data yet.
Okay,
There you go.
so-
That's a, we
That's a
don't
better
have
way of
clean
saying
data
it.
yet.
We don't have clean data. Okay, that's a great answer.
And just so you know, Randy started it and sounds like you're gonna finish it. These are the problems that were reflected from 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that in the data.
Good.
And that's
And
one of the
I-
reasons why the darn thing won't fly with the deal.
Well, I would love to know more about how things were historically and why they are being changed now.
Okay.
Because the, and I don't know that it's a theory, but it's my hypothesis that there were a whole bunch of sweetheart deals done under previous assessors. Whether that was on purpose, whether that was because of political pressure, or for whatever the hell it was. Some people were undervalued way back when, and their valuation has just been incremented. So they're
Yes.
still undervalued. And I think you're finding that, but I'd love to, it would be great if I knew how much the assessors had basically cheated, that caused the town to be cheated.
Well, I haven't been keeping track of it.
You don't have to keep track of it. The point,
Let me see.
Huh?
I have it fresh in my head because I'm doing it right now. Let's see, I went from 143 to like 195.
Mhm.
So it is significant.
A large amount.
So, and that's just in one that I can recall off of the top of my little head. So I went, now that said, the property I'm stuck on is a condo complex that has a large assessment. And their values dropped 80 grand in 6 months.
the individual unit,
No, the entire complex has dropped $80,000 in 6 months.
but I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. Are you saying it was 80 grand spread over the 37 condos or 80 grand on some condos?
Let me see. The value started at around, so from January 1st of 2024 to June 30th of 2024, the value was about 235, 265 on the high end
For each condo,
for each
Oh,
condo.
okay, I just
for
wanted to.
each condo. So each condo
Each
went down
condo.
80.
Each condo went down 80 grand
Okay,
in 6 months.
That seems unlikely at best.
So what happened is that they got a new roof.
Yeah.
And so their HOA dues went from 233 a month to 385 a month.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that killed 2 deals and then tanked everybody else. And then their value went all the way down to 190.
The average value of each condo went to about 190
Yes.
when it had been like
And
260.
so as of January 1st of 2025, which is our valuation date, they are now at 190, even though they sold 6 months ago for 265. And DOR is going to absolutely, I don't know how I'm gonna, I can't fix that. And it's one of those things where DOR wants the market to follow a statistical pattern
Yes, they did.
that the market doesn't follow. And I
Well,
don't know how I'm going to
It's,
have them swallow that.
it's particularly bad because condos went up more than anything else in the past couple of years. Condos went up a lot more. In fact, it was,
See, do
yeah,
I remember those numbers? Where did I settle on it?
because the condo people were going insane last year and the year before. Because
And
they
a lot of
were,
that is market, straight up market. Nothing else changed. They didn't touch their properties. And
Yeah.
that's why the darn shortcut don't work no more.
yeah, well,
Because nobody
yeah,
touched their properties. They just, it's all market.
that's right. And back to what we were talking about these, it's not just that the assessors might have been crooked for the last 20 years,
Mhm.
but the other problem is in the last few years, we just had RRG just peanut buttering everything everywhere.
Yes, and I see that, and that's very useful for what we needed them for, but it doesn't work anymore. And so what I'm finding in the data is all valuation regarding stuff. It's like, oh, this property has functional depreciation because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, look at that. Yeah, they didn't know that this was, a value, I added a whole nother category because that people didn't know that exposed beams is something that people will pay a lot of money for. And I'm gonna start doing one for crown molding, because that's another thing that people pay a lot for. And, there's a specific there's just a lot of stuff like that. And horse property. Okay, there's, this town actually has horse property.
We do.
And horse property has a premium for cleared pasture land, arenas and barns that are falling down. And that's something that an assessor would never know, but somebody who's actually valued those, that's why this property sold $80,000 higher than it's being assessed for, because they're not taking into account. And it's the value of the land, but it's the value of the land in this specific spot next to these trails, next to this riding facility. Like, there's just a lot of valuation stuff that has been missed.
You're getting into the details of the property. Is that contained in the PRC,
Property record
property
card.
record card?
It is now.
Oh, okay, so there are fields that up to now have been previously unused on the
Yes,
property record card.
yes,
So now we are basically diving into various properties and enumerating what those extra value features are.
Can I ask you a question? You said you found a very large amount of value that you hadn't found before, or that we
Yeah.
hadn't found before.
Mhm.
Is that going to be part of this tax rate setting,
Mhm.
Okay. If we can manage to do it without derailing a meeting that's already way too short for what needs to happen, it might be of value for you to have a little special topic at the beginning of the meeting where you summarize this exact point. All of us who've been interested in valuation in this town, council members and assessors and other people, have all thought that that the valuations weren't good, that our database is bad.
Mhm.
We've all thought that. I mean, that's what I said. That's when I came in 2 years ago. And the first thing I asked Randy and other people is fix, fix, fix. And it hasn't been fixed in the last 2 years because Randy never had the time or resources to do that. That's why we had all the RRG and all that. But you just did. You just did it. So coming in with a 10-minute special topic in the first part of your deck, you could come in and say, here's this thing that happened. We've all been talking about how bad the database is, but here's what I did. What, Jay?
It's 5:20
Yeah,
and we stop at 5:30
yeah,
and we have gone down a lot of rabbit holes.
because we have to.
What I suggest is you've instituted a number of changes to come up with these increased valuations.
Yes.
And I think enumerating those things so that people
Okay,
know why stuff is different is very important.
Not enumerate. Don't enumerate. Don't talk about each and every change.
No, she's got to know what they are. And I think you have a long list. You say, for example, A, B, C. But for us, I think we need to know what
Yeah,
D through F is or whatever it is.
that would be great, but you can't talk about specifics in these meetings. You cannot. Just say that you found a bunch of stuff.
Okay, we'll
We'll table that.
go offline
Yeah.
on that.
All right, so do we need to do anything else in this meeting?
What do you see
I have
in
that.
front of you?
The exact, but I mean, in the public
In the
meeting.
public meeting, no.
public.
No?
Okay. So we have no public comment and we are just, do I hear a motion to enter executive session?
Motion to enter executive session.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we are in and we will adjourn from executive session.
Call.
Oh, roll call, okay. Christina and Chuck and Jim. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And that's it for the public meeting.